Welcome to another edition of Smalltalk for You. This morning we're going to go back to Glorp in VA Smalltalk and take a look at deleting objects out of the database. Now if you recall, last time we looked at this and we got it to not work because we hadn't specified a primary key. This time what we've done is gone in and made a simple change. Now instead of adding a more rational primary key like, a simple one-up number, I've done something relatively silly in general terms, but it'll work for our example. I'm going to make the first name column a primary key, and the way you do that is when you're doing your create field name and type, so you're mapping this in Glorp, you just add this be primary key to the column that is the primary key, and in theory against a real database this should be the actual primary key column. But if you don't have a primary key but a column that more or less acts as one, you can simulate that by doing this with Glorp, and Glorp will thereupon treat that column as a primary key, meaning you should treat it as a primary key as well. Having said that, once you've got this all set, you can now come in and let's take a look at our table again. So we'll inspect the results of this, and we see we start with Wilma 3 and go on to 4, 5, 6, and up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one, so read one of where, so that I get just that one example, inspect it, and now I'm going to delete that one. Now of course you can also do deletions with a where clause, just like you can with queries. The other thing you can do is you can explicitly wrap these in transactions if you're doing that kind of thing. If you just do a delete off an object like this, it implicitly wraps it in a transaction for you. So if I go ahead and do an execute on this, notice I didn't have to put a transaction boundary around that, and that's because it got implicitly placed there for me. So now let's go ahead and read this, querying specifically for that object. And you see it's not there. So we implicitly put the transaction boundary around it. You can also explicitly do that. And this is pretty much the way things work in VA Smalltalk using Glorp. If you want to be able to delete things, you have to have a primary key or at least a column that you are going to treat as a primary key. And again, to do that, all you need to do is put be primary key on there when you create it in your table for blah method. So that's about it for today. Until next time, have fun with whatever Smalltalk you're using.